Hello and welcome, dear learners, to this lecture on self-concept. I am pleased to have you all with me today. In this session, we will discuss one of the most important psychological constructs that plays a crucial role in learning, motivation, personality development, and emotional well-being. Understanding self-concept helps us understand how individuals perceive themselves and how these perceptions influence behavior, academic achievement, and social adjustment. Each one of us carries within ourselves an image of who we are, our strengths and weaknesses, our abilities and limitations, our values and our sense of worth. This internal picture, though often invisible, powerfully shapes how we think, feel, and act in everyday life. In educational settings, especially, self-concept determines how learners approach challenges, respond to feedback, cope with failure, and set goals for the future. Throughout this lecture, we will explore the meaning and nature of self-concept, its major dimensions, theoretical explanations, developmental influences, and its educational significance. We will also examine how teachers, parents, and educational environments can actively support the development of a positive and healthy self-concept among learners. Dear students, by the end of this lecture, you will be able to understand the concept of self-concept, identify and explain the components of self-concept, understand self-concept through major psychological theories, explain the development of self-concept across the lifespan, recognize the educational significance of a positive self-concept, analyze the challenges of negative self-concept in educational contexts. Let us begin our discussion by first understanding what self-concept really means. Dear learners, self-concept refers to the organized and consistent set of beliefs, perceptions, and evaluations that individuals hold about themselves. It represents how a person sees, understands, and evaluates their own abilities, characteristics, values, and identity. In simple terms, self-concept answers fundamental questions such as who am I, what am I capable of, how valuable am I as a person. It's important to understand that self-concept is not merely about factual information such as one's age or occupation. Rather, it involves personal interpretations and subjective meanings. For example, two students with similar academic performance may develop very different self-concepts depending on how they interpret their experiences, the feedback they receive, and the comparisons they make with others. Self-concept is not a single trait but a multi-dimensional construct. It includes perceptions related to academic abilities, social competence, emotional functioning, physical appearance, moral values, and personal identity. Because of this multidimensional nature, individuals may feel confident in one area of life while feeling insecure in another. A student may possess a strong academic self-concept but struggle with social self-confidence, or may feel emotionally resilient but dissatisfied with physical appearance. Another important feature of self-concept is that it is subjective. People do not respond to objective reality as it is, but to their interpretation of themselves within that reality. Psychological research consistently shows that individuals tend to behave in ways that are consistent with their self-concept. For instance, a learner who believes I am good at studies is more likely to participate actively in class, persist when facing difficulty, and recover from setbacks. On the other hand, a learner who believes I am weak in studies may avoid academic tasks, experience anxiety, and withdraw from participation even if their actual ability is adequate. Self-concept is also dynamic rather than fixed. It develops continuously throughout life through experiences, social interactions, feedback from others, and personal reflection. As individuals move through different stages of life and assume new roles such as student, professional, parent, or leader, their self-concept evolves accordingly. This means that self-concept can be strengthened or weakened depending on environmental support and personal experiences. Dear students, to understand self-concept more clearly and in a meaningful way, it is essential to examine its major components in detail. Self-concept is not a single or fixed idea. Rather, it's a dynamic and multifaceted construct. It consists of several interrelated components that continuously interact with one another and together form an individual's integrated sense of self. These components influence how a person perceives themselves, evaluates their abilities, relates to others, and respond to different life situations. A clear understanding of these components helps us appreciate the complexity of self-concept and its significant role in learning, personality development, and overall behavior. One of the most extensively studied dimension is academic self-concept. Academic self-concept refers to individuals' perceptions of their intellectual abilities and academic competence. It includes beliefs such as I am good at mathematics, I can understand complex concepts, or I struggle with language subjects. Research by Marsh and Shevelson has demonstrated that academic self-concept is a strong predictor of academic achievement, motivation, persistence, and engagement. Students who believe they can learn and perform well are more likely to invest effort, use effective learning strategies, and persist despite difficulties. Importantly, academic self-concept and academic achievement influence each other reciprocally. Success enhances self-concept and positive self-concept promotes further success. This reciprocal relationship explains why early academic experiences are particularly important. Repeated failure without support can damage academic self-concept, while early success combined with encouragement can create a positive cycle of motivation and achievement. Dear learners, another important component is social self-concept, which involves perception of social competence, peer acceptance, and interpersonal effectiveness. It reflects how individuals view themselves in social interactions, whether they feel confident, accepted, and capable of forming relationships. Learners with positive social self-concept are more comfortable participating in group activities, expressing opinions, and collaborating with peers. In contrast, learners with poor social self-concept may experience social anxiety, withdrawal, or feelings of isolation. One more component is emotional self-concept, which refers to individuals' understanding of their own emotions and their perceived ability to manage emotional experiences such as stress, anxiety, frustration, or disappointment. Emotional self-concept plays a crucial role in coping, resilience, and mental health. Students with strong emotional self-concept are better able to regulate emotions, handle academic pressure, and recover from setbacks. Physical component is another important component of self-concept, which relates to body image, physical appearance, health, and physical abilities. This dimension becomes particularly salient during adolescence, a period marked by rapid physical change and heightened social comparison. During this period, individuals are more likely to compare themselves with peers, media images, and societal standards of appearance. Such comparisons can strongly influence how adolescents perceive their physical selves, either positively or negatively. Research consistently indicates that a negative physical self-concept is closely associated with low self-esteem, feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and depressive symptoms, especially among adolescents. When individuals develop dissatisfaction with their physical appearance or abilities, it can affect their emotional well-being, social participation, and academic engagement. Therefore, fostering a healthy and realistic physical self-concept is essential for promoting psychological well-being and positive development, particularly during the sensitive years of adolescence. Finally, the family component of self-concept focuses on an individual's perception of belonging, acceptance, and personal value within the family system. Supportive family environments that provide love, encouragement, and realistic expectations contribute positively to development of self-concept, while rejection, neglect, or excessive criticism can undermine a child's sense of worth. These dimensions of self-concept interact in a dynamic and continuous manner. Strength and positive experience in one domain can often help compensate for weaknesses or challenges in another, thereby supporting a more balanced and resilient sense of self. However, when difficulties persist in a particular domain, especially in critical areas such as academic or social functioning, they can gradually undermine overall self-concept. If such challenges remain unaddressed and are not supported through timely guidance, encouragement, and appropriate intervention, they may lead to reduced confidence, lowered motivation, and negative self-perceptions. Dear students, moving to the next objective of today's session, let us now examine some major theoretical perspectives on self-concept to understand how psychologists have explained its formation and development. One of the most influential contributions to the study of self-concept comes from Carl Rogers' person-centered theory. According to Rogers, human beings possess an innate tendency towards growth, self-actualization, and psychological fulfillment. Central to this growth process is the development of the self. Carl Rogers, one of the most influential humanistic psychologists, provided a foundational framework for understanding self-concept. His approach revolutionized educational thinking by placing the student at the center of the learning process and emphasizing the profound importance of therapeutic relationship. Rogers identified three critical aspects of the self. Number one, real self. Number second, perceived self. And number third, ideal self. The real self represents an individual's actual characteristics, abilities, and experiences, who they genuinely are, independent of others' perceptions or their own distortions. The perceived self is how individuals actually see themselves, which may differ from their real self due to defense mechanisms, selective perception, or other psychological processes. The ideal self represents what individuals aspire to become, the person they would like to be, encompassing their values, aspirations, and goals. Psychological well-being depends largely on the degree of congruence between the perceived self and the real self. When individuals experience congruence, they feel authentic, confident, and emotionally healthy. When there is incongruence, when individuals feel they must be someone they are not, anxiety, dissatisfaction, and low self-esteem may result. A central concept in Rogers' theory is unconditional positive regard. This refers to accepting and valuing individuals without imposing conditions based on performance, behavior, or achievement. In educational contexts, unconditional positive regard creates psychological safety, encourages intrinsic motivation, and supports healthy self-concept development. Research has shown that environments characterized by conditional acceptance, where approval is dependent on grades, ranks, or comparison with others, can create fragile self-concepts and performance anxiety. In contrast, classrooms that emphasize respect, encouragement, and acceptance allow learners to take risks, make mistakes, and learn authentically. Another important framework is Chevalson's hierarchical model of self-concept. According to this model, self-concept is organized hierarchically with general self-concept at the top, followed by academic and non-academic self-concepts, and further subdivided into subject-specific and domain-specific perceptions. This model explains why a learner may feel confident in one subject, such as science, while feeling insecure in another, such as language. The hierarchical model also highlights that academic self-concept powerfully influences academic achievement. The relationship is reciprocal. Positive academic self-concept motivates effort and persistence, while achievement experiences reinforce or reshape academic self-concept. Let us now turn to another objective of the session, the development of self-concept across the lifespan. Dear students, development of self-concept begins early in life and continues throughout child, adolescence, and adulthood. In early childhood, self-concept is largely concrete and descriptive. Children describe themselves in terms of observable characteristics such as physical features or activities they enjoy. As cognitive abilities develop, self-concept becomes more abstract, differentiated, and evaluative. Multiple interconnected factors shape the emergence and evolution of self-concept throughout childhood and adolescence, such as family, parenting, peer relations, school environment, mental health and psychological well-being, social competence, motivation and engagement, socio-economic context. The family plays a primary role in early development of self-concept. The family represents the primary ecological context within which self-concept begins to crystallize. Family interactions, parenting styles, and family dynamics profoundly shape how children come to view themselves. Families transmit cultural values, beliefs, and identity frameworks that become integrated into self-concept. Children internalize their families' worldviews regarding achievement, success, relationships, spirituality, and social responsibility. This cultural dimension of self-concept acknowledges that identity development is culturally situated and that diversity in self-concept expressions reflects valuable cultural variation rather than pathology. In parenting styles, emotional warmth, communication patterns, and expectations significantly shape children's self-perceptions. Research indicates that authoritative parenting characterized by warmth, structure, and reasonable expectation promotes positive self-concept and self-esteem. In contrast, overly critical, neglectful, or inconsistent parenting can undermine self-worth. Without appropriate feedback and boundaries, children may not develop accurate perceptions of their capabilities. Lack of emotional support frequently contributes to negative, fragmented self-concepts and may predispose children to psychological vulnerabilities. As children grow older, peer relationships become increasingly influential. Acceptance, friendship, and peer feedback act as powerful social mirrors through which individuals evaluate themselves. Positive peer relationships enhance social self-concept and emotional security, while peer rejection, bullying, or social exclusion can have long-lasting negative effects on self-esteem and identity development. Dear learners, the schools represent powerful developmental contexts where self-concept is both shaped and refined. Teachers also play a crucial role in shaping self-concept. Teachers' expectations, feedback, and interaction styles communicate powerful messages about learners' abilities and potential. The well-known Pygmalion effect demonstrates that students tend to internalize teachers' expectations. When teachers communicate belief in students' abilities and provide supportive feedback, students are more likely to develop positive academic self-concept and achieve higher outcomes. Self-concept is also closely linked to mental health and psychological well-being. Positive, coherent self-concept is foundational for mental health. Students with healthy self-concepts demonstrate greater emotional resilience and adaptive coping strategies, lower rates of anxiety and depression, more effective regulation of emotions, enhanced social relationships, greater life satisfaction, and sense of purpose. Conversely, negative self-concept is associated with anxiety, depression, avoidance behaviors, procrastination, reduced social engagement, and in severe cases, self-harm or suicidal ideation. Self-concept profoundly influences social functioning. Students with positive social self-concepts are more likely to initiate social interactions and form friendships, participate in group activities and collaborative learning, express opinions and assert themselves appropriately, demonstrate empathy and pro-social behavior, navigate social conflicts constructively. Students with negative social self-concepts may withdraw from peer interaction, experience social anxiety, and struggle to form meaningful relationships. Dear students, self-concept plays a direct and crucial role in shaping the motivational pathways through which learning takes place. When students believe in their own abilities, demonstrate strong academic self-efficacy, and hold a positive view of themselves as learners, they are more likely to engage meaningfully with the learning process. When this positive self-concept is combined with a sense of autonomy in learning, students develop intrinsic motivation, the genuine desire to learn for the sake of understanding and personal growth. Intrinsic motivation is deeper, more stable, and more enduring than extrinsic motivation, which is driven primarily by grades, praise, or other external rewards. Learners who are intrinsically motivated tend to show greater persistence, curiosity, and resilience in the face of challenge, making self-concept a foundational element in effective and lifelong learning. The socio-economic environment plays a significant role in shaping the development of self-concept. Families with greater economic resources are often able to provide enriched learning experiences, exposure to diverse opportunities, and a relatively stress-free environment, all of which contribute to the development of a positive self-concept. In contrast, families facing economic hardship may find it difficult to offer similar opportunities, and as a result, children may internalize restrictive beliefs about their abilities, potential, and future prospects. Dear learners, coming to another important objective of today's session, the educational significance of positive self-concept. The relationship between self-concept and educational achievement is well established in psychological research. Studies consistently demonstrate a strong and reciprocal relationship between the two, where each continuously influences the other. A positive self-concept enhances students' motivation, persistence, classroom engagement, and ability to regulate their own learning. Academic success, in turn, further strengthens and reinforces a positive self-concept, creating a constructive cycle that supports sustained learning and achievement. Learners with positive self-concept are more likely to participate actively in learning, take intellectual risks, view failure as a learning opportunity, and demonstrate resilience. In contrast, learners with negative self-concept often exhibit avoidance behavior, fear of failure, and learned helplessness, which further undermines performance. Extensive research demonstrates that positive academic self-concept is associated with higher achievement and greater engagement in learning. Students with positive academic self-concepts set ambitious goals, persist when facing challenges, and invest greater effort in learning tasks. They are more likely to participate actively in class discussions, ask questions without fear of judgment, take intellectual risks and explore challenging material, persist through difficulty rather than avoiding challenging tasks, attribute failures to insufficient effort rather than fundamental inability, develop intrinsic motivation for learning. The relationship between self-concept and achievement is reciprocal and dynamic. Positive self-concept predicts achievement, and achievement experiences reinforce or reshape self-concept. Now, let us come to the last objective of today's session, the challenge of negative self-concept in educational contexts. Dear students, while understanding and promoting a positive self-concept is essential, it is equally important for educators to recognize the presence, manifestations, and consequence of a negative self-concept. Only then can timely and effective intervention take place. Students who experience a negative self-concept often exhibit clear and recognizable patterns in their behavior, emotions, and learning approaches. These patterns serve as important signals for teachers and institutions, indicating the need for support, guidance, and corrective educational practices. The various challenges associated with negative self-concept in educational contexts include procrastination and task avoidance. It leads to delaying or avoiding academic tasks to protect self-concept from threatened failure. Perfectionism. that is, striving for unrealistic standards to compensate for underlying self-doubt. Learned helplessness. This leads to ceasing effort when facing challenges, believing outcomes are uncontrollable. Self-handicapping. It leads to creating obstacles to achievement to externalize potential failure. Social withdrawal. It leads to avoiding peer interaction and group activities. Defensive aggression. It means responding to criticism or perceived threat with anger or hostility. Excessive people pleasing. Attempting to earn acceptance through compliance or accommodation. So, dear students, we can say that a negative self-concept leads to academic consequences that extend far beyond reduced achievement, such as reduced persistence when facing academic difficulties, avoidance of challenging courses or academic opportunities, lower goal setting and reduced ambition, reduced engagement and participation, greater test anxiety, narrow choice of academic and career paths based on limiting self-beliefs. The consequences of negative self-concept extend far beyond academics also. It leads to increased vulnerability to anxiety and depression, social isolation and reduced peer relationships, engagement in risky behaviors, reduced resilience and adaptive coping, diminished life satisfaction and sense of purpose. Recognizing these consequences underscores why educators' commitment to fostering positive self-concept is not merely an educational nicety, but a moral imperative. Finally, self-concept can be assessed using a variety of methods, including self-report scales, interviews, observations, reflective journals, and portfolios. Such assessment should be formative and supportive rather than judgmental, aiming to promote self-awareness and growth. Dear students, thank you all for your attentive listening and engagement throughout this lecture. I hope this discussion has helped you gain a deeper understanding of self-concept and its vital role in education and human development. I encourage you to reflect on your own self-concept and consider how, as future educators, professionals, or lifelong learners, you can create environments that promote confidence, dignity, and growth in yourself and in others.